wanted to start out by thanking you all for coming here this morning, especially such kind of fast notice. I appreciate you coming. Especially want to thank you for your patience. I know especially there were at least 4 to 5 reporters at the scene last night, and they spent a lot of hours standing waiting in the heat, and there wasn't a lot that we could tell them at that point. So I appreciate that. As for policy, when we have a situation like it occurred last night, we do contact the Nebraska State Patrol, and they will do all our investigating if our officers are involved in a situation such as this. So when another investigation agency takes over, then they are the lead agency that will get out this information. They did release their press release, and most of the information that I'll be able to talk about is going to be on that. I'll answer whatever questions I can, but if there's a question that I don't feel that I can answer this time, I'll just have to tell you I can't answer that. The investigation is continuing, even though I would think majority of it's done. There's still a lot of things to be looked into, and I'm not sure when that'll be done, but I wanted to get as much information as I could out to the press. Has everybody been able to look at the press release so far? Okay, I might go over that later if you wish, but I thought I would kind of give you a brief overview from our perspective of what occurred last night. At about 7:30ish last night, the rescue squad from the south-sioux-city Fire Department responded to a call that a person possibly had overdosed in an apartment in the 300 block of 12th Street, East 12th. When they responded, they were dealing with the subject when he got a weapon, and he did point it at the rescue personnel. They did exit the apartment and called us. We responded along with deputies from the Dakota County Sheriff's Office to there. The subject was still in the apartment. Our officers, along with the deputies, went to set up a perimeter. I was contacted. Our SRT, Special Response Team, was contacted. Should have become a barricaded subject call. In that time frame, our main concern was community safety. So we contain the area to keep the person from leaving, and also we do our best to try to get people out of that area. So officers were in the process of trying to maybe evacuate residents from that area. When they were setting up the perimeter and also attempting to keep the citizens safe as we can, the person in that apartment with a weapon did begin firing on the officers. They did return fire. One officer returned fire. The subject was hit one time. They did and were able to approach and take him into custody. The rescue were called back, and that person was transported to a Sioux City hospital. After that is just closing off the area, and as I said before, if we're involved in an officer type shooting, Nebraska State Patrol is always contacted. It's always very important to have another agency do the investigation, make sure that the investigation is not only transparent but is impartial, and they're an excellent agency to help. So we were very fortunate that they sent their teams to help investigate this incident, not only investigate the officer shooting aspect, but also the criminal part of the investigation. To come back around, I just wanted to let you all know how important it was, and the outcome. The subject was injured, but it was so important to us to keep the citizens safe, keep the rescue personnel safe, do our best to keep the subject safe, and to keep our officers safe. And it's unfortunate when we have to resort to that much force, but again, the subject began firing on our officers, and I believe that officer had no other choice. All right. So with that, I'd like to end with a couple of things. Thanks. I know they sound kind of shallow. Thanks, like in this time, but the Dakota County Sheriff's officers and deputies, they're always there for us. It's very seldom that we'll roll on to a call, especially like this, where they're not 2 or 3, the whole shift will show up. So I have the most sincerest thanks to the Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Kleinberg for the constant assistance that he gives us every day, not just in calls like this. Nebraska State Patrol is invaluable with their resources and manpower and the ability to take over very large investigations that we have to ensure are transparent and that people know they're unbiased. It's just the best and the safest way to go. I wanted to thank the city. You don't think of the city crews, but the city crews at one call were there with barricades to help us contain the situation, and they are extremely helpful. South-Sioux-City Fire, while they're called to help somebody did start this whole complaint, they were always there. They didn't leave. They were there to help us, and they helped the same person that pointed a weapon at them. So kudos and many thanks to the South-Sioux-City Fire Department and rescue squads. The general gist of the information is given there, but I wanted to again emphasize that really community safety, citizen safety, even suspect safety is paramount in our minds, along with training and equipping the officers to act appropriately and with the skill and equipment that they need to do the job, and that occurred last night.
Do we know, or do you know what prompted this person to use his gun? Was it medication related? Was it he just got angry for some reason? Do you have any idea why he acted the way he did?
I do not know, sir, sure enough to let you know. I don't really know.
Can you identify the officer involved in the shooting?
No, I cannot.
How many shots did the suspect fire?
We'll have to go to the NSP for that part of it. I'm sorry.
Do we know how many shots the officer fired?
That'll be another thing that the Nebraska State Patrol would have to answer.
Are any of the injuries to either the person who shot at the officer or the officer serious at all, or are they both in pretty stable condition?
Well, when there was no officers, there were no citizens hit, so none of the suspect's rounds did any damage to any people. The officers, the round that struck the subject, he was transported to the hospital. He was treated and released. Okay, so then he was transported to the Dakota County Jail. So they weren't life-threatening, and they were treatable, and he was released. He is since, I believe now, is still back in the hospital, but that is another medical condition that is absolutely unrelated to the situation from last night.
Anyone else in the apartment? Anyone else arrested or anything like that?
No.
Where was the suspect struck at?
That'll be an NSP thing.
Is your guy doing okay, Ed? And does he go on administrative leave because of the investigation? Is that kind of protocol too?
That's absolutely protocol. It's what we do if nothing else, to ensure that the officer has some time to decompress, to make sure that he is okay. It looks like a very unfortunate situation, but I think the situation was done properly. Again, the investigation is still open, but he'll have at least several days of administrative leave that is by policy, and in no way indicative that we think he did anything wrong. But after something like it's a traumatic incident, we got to make sure that he's good to go.
When was the last officer-involved shooting you guys had?
It was back probably April of 2 years ago, maybe 3. Was it 2 years ago? 3 years. Yeah. Officer Van Berkum was shot by Los Amigos bar approximately 3 years ago in April, I believe.
Was there any damage to the apartment complex or any surrounding buildings or anything like that as a result of the incident?
Not substantial damage, no.
Any other officers on administrative leave?
No, sir.
Because of this?
Nope.
What charges might the suspect be facing?
That will be a list that is compiled by the Nebraska State Patrol.
And is he the one that called 911? The suspect?
I don't know that one.
So then was there actually an overdose that someone experienced as a result of that call?
That I am not aware of.
Would there be any body camera footage released?
Nothing is planned to be released at this point that I know of. Again, that would be Nebraska State Patrol's call what and when they release that.
I know it says unrelated to the incident, but is there any chance that the reason he was taken back to the hospital was related to the overdose, or are you not sure of that?
I do not know that.
Okay.
And where was the suspect hit?
That'll be his Nebraska State Patrol.
Just out of curiosity, is the person that brandished the gun, is he known to the department from the past? Any priors or any other things like this that you're aware of?
I think it's safe to say we have had occasion to deal with this subject in the past.